Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Carolina Conversation. I'm your host, Shammond Williams, and we have one of the greatest Tar Heels with us today. This young man came to the University of North Carolina in 1993, if I'm not mistaken, 93-94 season. He was absolutely a great athlete at the University of North Carolina, playing two sports. He was one of the greatest wide receivers to play at the University of North Carolina, but he was also the first dual sport athlete to play football and basketball at the University of North Carolina. Hailing from Wilson, North Carolina, ladies and gentlemen, let's introduce my teammate, the Octavus Barnes.
Yay. Room. Shammond Williams. Thank you for having me, big brother.
Hey, man, how you doing? How you doing, Tay?
I'm good. Life is good. We have no complaints. I'm full of health, which is worth more than $1 million, more than $2 million. It's just the fact that you can't put a value on your health, and that's priceless. I'm doing great.
That's awesome, man. You look awesome, as you've always been one of the greatest, people to be in shape and stuff like that. But man, you just it's outstanding to see you and being able to have contact with you and catch up with you. But more importantly, we appreciate you being here on the Carolina Conversation. There were a lot of people to do some things after you had set the table for them, and
yes.
I thought it was extremely important for me to make sure I had the first on here. The first.
Thank you. Thank you.
But let's rewind this thing. Being the great athlete that you were in high school and being highly recruited, what made Octavus Barnes choose the University of North Carolina?
Well, it was probably a twofold factor. It was funny just coming out of high school. Originally, I had committed to University of Alabama.
Okay.
It was funny that I actually took my visit down there with Ray Allen. We met actually in Atlanta. Took the flight over to Tuscaloosa, of course, and he ended up going to UConn.
Right.
But it was funny that year that I came out, the University of Alabama had just won a national championship in football.
Mm-hmm.
And then the University of North Carolina had just won a national championship in basketball.
Right.
And it was ironic that both schools, you kind of recruited me from different sports.
Right.
And of course, Alabama wanted me to come play football, and then UNC wanted me to come and play football there as well. But I had committed to the University of Alabama to play basketball. And what it really came down to was my family and them being involved in the process. And of course, Chapel Hill is a lot closer than Tuscaloosa. Mm-hmm. So I end up going to UNC, and I spoke to Coach Smith, and I spoke to Coach Brown at the time, and they said, you know what, you can come here, it won't be a problem. You can play both. If you can handle it academically, you can handle it athletically. Why not be a part of both programs? So at the end of the day, I selected UNC just because of proximity. And of course, growing up, I'm a Tar Heel fan. I've always been a Tar Heel fan. And of course, it was just my opportunity to devote time to basketball and just probably see how, it just goes for me on the basketball court. And I ended up choosing UNC. And of course, I had never played receiver before, so it was going to be a first time anyways. So I gave it a try. I don't regret my decision, awesome decision. And that was the best thing for both me and my family. Due to the proximity, my mother, she had a couple of disabilities, and her getting to Alabama would have been just too much on her. And, my fans and friends being able to get close to see me made it a no-brainer to attend the University of North Carolina.
Okay, awesome. Well, listening to you, what position did you play? What position did you play in football? Or did you play every position, or did you not play football, or just basketball? Just being, I know, like with football, I'm not so inclined in football other than the Dallas Cowboys, but a lot of times they put the athlete beside, the student athlete. So, what was the case with football?
I played a little split end. That was my position. I played a little flanker. I did returns. I did punt returns. I did kickoff returns. So I was kind of all over the place. You know, they let me even throw it a couple times, which was
Right,
amazing in
right, right.
itself. You know, I was 1 for 2 for a touchdown. So that's 50%. That's not a bad percentage. So I kind of
No
did it
question.
all, but it was mostly split in most of the time. Yes, sir.
Right. And then in basketball, you were a scoring guard.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
I knew that wasn't going to work once you came on board, where you shoot and you still hold a record for field goal percentage. So I knew that wasn't going to last long, just because you can't devote that much time. And I knew I had some great guys in front of me, but I was right there with you trying to learn the plays. And of
Right.
course, we had a good time trying to do that. But I could not shoot it like you. And I resorted to my role, just being a part of the team, being a practice guy, just making sure you guys are ready for the game.
Yeah. But, talk about being the dual sport athlete. Like a lot of times, you don't find many that have an opportunity to do it at such a high level. Because actually, when we were in school, you were part of a team that was top 5 in the country in football, and you were part of a team that was top 5 in basketball. So
yes,
it's not like that you didn't have an impact on 2 great basketball and football teams at the University of North Carolina. But let's talk about devoting the time between the two. How was that? Especially, let's talk about your freshman year, coming in as a freshman. How was that for you?
We had a lot of good seniors up there that guided us and, shaped us in where we needed to be and what we needed to do. And as well as I know, the coaches weren't going to let us go too far. They had too much invested in us. And I think they gave us a good schedule to operate on.
Right.
Of course, it's very demanding. We didn't have a lot of time to spend on the yard and hanging out. You had to put in a lot of late nights in the gym, which you did, and which we had to do. And we was there to encourage that. So the structure was there for us. We just, we just had to abide by it, buy into it, which was easy because we loved the sport and we knew how successful we could be. And once we had that structure, we had an outline to what we wanted to do every day. We just made it go and happen. And we just made the best of our time, and we were together. We had classes together. I see you, and after that, hey, I know we're going straight to the gym, and that's the time and the devotion that you got to put into the game. And I think we didn't have any problem buying into that structure. And I even applied it to my life today. I'm still going to get up at 5 o'clock, go to the gym. I'm gonna still find a way to go get 9 holes of golf in, and that type of structure makes our life a lot easier. And of course, it was difficult, but anything you do in life that you can reap the success of it and reap the benefits of it, you're going to find time to do it. And we made time to do it, and that's the fun part about the whole process.
No question. Now, like I said, I just know North Carolina, for me as a student athlete, being from the basketball side. And so, when you were part of our basketball team and then being an intricate part of the football team, how were those conversations with Coach Brown? I know a lot of times, usually when you're recruiting, you say, hey, man, you could come here and play both sports, and you can devote both times. But that's part of the recruit pitch to get you.
That's right.
We got to get him. That's right. We got to get him. So, but when you're such an intricate part of a program, how was that? I love Coach Brown. Coach Brown's the man. I love Coach Brown. There ain't no question about that. But how was that when it was like, all right, Coach, was there a time allotted for basketball? Okay, Tavis, you can go over there and practice, or you had to wait till a certain day and time to practice. Explain that to us, because a lot of us, we see you when you come. Was like, okay, Tavis, what's happening, man? Goodness,
let's go. Yeah.
We didn't know the backlog of it. So give us some nuggets on how that thing operated.
Coach Brown, being a significant figure that he was more than just a coach. He was more than just a mentor. He was more than just a father figure. He was a guider of men. And as I say, a guider of young men to help us matriculate to be men. And, he let me go. He trusts me to be where I was supposed to be. I knew the itinerary, I knew the schedule. And it's not like, he was leaving me in the hands of, just a regular old coach. No, he left us in the hands of a Hall of Famer and one of the godfathers of, the basketball coaching circuit. So once the season started, he let me go. I hardly ever saw him because, our time was devoted to, practice and playing and working out and in the gym.
Right.
So when it was time to go, he let me go and really let me go out there and grow and be as a man and be independent of the football regiment at that particular time, where I can really just go down there and be with basketball, be with you, be with Donald Williams, be with Rashid and be with Jerry and be with Dante and be with Ed. And, I had a chance to be with Jeff. So it wasn't the fact of it was back and forth. I was with you guys. I was with that family, part of that family, and whatever it required me to do that day, I was with you guys.
Right. Now, I asked you about how was it with Coach Brown. Yes. So now I got to ask you, how was it with Coach Smith, being able to come in, how was that discussion of, because a lot of people, it's hard. It's hard just playing one sport now, make no mistakes. And especially when you start talking about being on a great basketball team, it's not easy. You know what I mean?
It's not.
So, and to be honest, Tate, while you was doing it and being your teammate, I don't think a lot of us really understood how difficult it absolutely, it absolutely was. When you're young, you don't really understand the nuances or the background or, the small details and things that it takes just to be a part of a team. I'm gonna get to my other questions, but, so how was it, with Coach Smith when you show up? All right, Coach, I'm ready. Ready to build. How did that conversation work and evolve?
So the funny thing about it, I remember my first day of practice. We had just finished playing Texas down in the Sun Bowl. Had a great game. Unfortunately, we lost that game to Priest Holmes and a good Texas team, but we lost it within the last 2 minutes of the game. So we had the game really, really much in hand. And I went down there and I set a Sun Bowl record, had 9 catches, 160, 170 yards. So it was a Sun Bowl record. And really big game, scored a touchdown. And the plane was late getting back to Chapel Hill. And I knew I was supposed to be in practice. I'm like, I don't fly the plane. I got to get back when the plane lands. Right. I came to practice late the first day, Shammond. And the funny thing about it, Coach Smith didn't care. He said, if you want to be a part of this team, you're going to put on this weighted vest. And just like everybody else, you know what's going to happen when you put on the weighted vest, right? Oh,
you
man.
Know it.
You got to put on the weighted vest and you got to hit the steps. And the Smith Center is not small at all. No. And I'm looking at those steps and I'm like, do I really want to do this? But that's the commitment. And his structure was different, but his structure was with integrity and character to it because it taught you a lot about yourself. If you want to be a part of something, you're going to do it my way or, we're going to move on without you. And it was worth it. I put on the weighted vest. And I'm like, Coach, I didn't fly the plane. It didn't matter. You're late. And after that, I hit the steps and it was off the running. And that's part of the sacrifice that you got to humble yourself with. And that's part of the sacrifice you gotta pay if you want to be a part of a great program. And it was worth it. And I don't regret it anymore.
Right. That's awesome.
Yes.
Now,
great question.
Yeah. So let's talk about the contrast in plays. You know what I mean? Because it's not like you played defense, you were offense, you were receiver, one of the best receivers we had at the University of North Carolina. And running routes and knowing the playbook and so on and so forth. And so let's talk about the contrast in playbooks, being wide receiver playbook and then having the Carolina playbook of B1, B2,
That's right.
Carolina secondary.
Yo, trust me, that Carolina basketball playbook was a lot tougher to understand because you got to get the offensive thought of the day, the defensive thought of the day, just the thought of the day and the intricacies with that. You remember we had to get in the circle and come up with the thought of the day and memorize that to go out there. And that's going to start the playbook. And not truly understanding my role was difficult because, where am I going to play it? I'm a shooting guard, I'm point guard. You can't be a small forward because those guys are 6'7". So automatically that position put me at a shooting position. But, I'm there with you, I'm there with Dante. And it's like, man, I'm there with Donald Williams. It's like, man, these guys are shooters. So learning that intricate part was really difficult, hard to understand, only because of the timing of it.
Right.
You know, I only got out there with you guys in January, and then by that time we're deep into the season. Yeah, we're moving.
Yeah, it's moving.
It's moving. So I'm behind, from there on. But that really didn't distract me or deter me. It was some of those things where you want to overcome your challenges in your life, and I saw that just as a challenge. But being able to grasp it and come up with that was a truly awesome experience, because the playbook down in basketball required more time to be a part of that. And I know, like when we came in, it ain't like we came in with some bum teams. Like we come in with a team that just won a national championship, and that's difficult. And we sat at the end of the bench till we figure out what was going on, and then you figured it out. You went out there and excelled and did great things. And just learning that process is part of the process of life, because you gotta be willing to learn every day, and that's what we were willing to do. And you can see that in the way we competed, the way we won, the way we went out and managed our time, and the way we went out and took care of our bodies, and that definitely plays into part of what we do in life right now. And that was definitely a humbling process, but we got through it.
No question.
We got through it.
Yeah. It the process built men.
There's not little boys. It built men. And while we were going through that process, we had fun going through that process, and that's the best part about it. We didn't pout. We didn't complain about it. We took it on the chest, and that helped us be who we are now.
There's no question about it. No question. And so, since I'm on my contrast, let's talk about traveling. All right?
Yes.
Traveling. All right? Being on the football team, traveling with 60 guys, 70 guys, or a traveling party, probably 80 people in the traveling party. With, basketball, there's probably 30 people in the traveling party, and so on and so forth. So tell us the differences in the traveling parties and traveling as a student athlete from the football team, as a student athlete from the basketball team.
It was good to win on the basketball side, because when Coach Guthrie came through with the per diem money after a win, we got more. You remember those days? We got more.
Per diem, yes, sir.
You remember those per diem? Football, you got to disseminate the money a little bit different, because you're traveling with a large group. The travel was always first class. We stayed in some of the best hotels. We travel in some of the best planes. It's just a bigger party. It's a bigger party of people. Just the intricacies of, like you said, 130, 140, you got to move like a well-oiled machine, and there's no room for error. With basketball, you can have a little more error, because it's only like 30 of us, if that, and the time's a little bit different. The amount of equipment you got to travel with is a little bit different. But, it keeps you on track. You have your itinerary, which is very important. And the discipline that comes along with that is pretty much, you know where you're supposed to be. And the rhythm of it definitely adds to the success on the court, the success on the field, because the rhythm makes the game so much easier, because there's less you got to worry about. I really love the basketball travel, because, of course, the seats are bigger,
Right.
we can relax on a charter plane from, the New York Knicks or the San Antonio Spurs, as opposed to a Delta flight that's, can be used for a commercial flight. It made it a lot easier to travel. But I would definitely say basketball travel was a lot sweeter, a lot funner. And, you're with your guys, and, you can interact with them, as opposed to a charter Delta flight or a charter American flight. That's just like a normal plane that you're going to take, be it a Boeing, whatever the numbers that come along with those flights, as opposed to a Charlotte Hornets plane. That made a difference. Yeah.
Right. Now, the one thing that you didn't talk about right there was like meals, for instance.
Yes.
When, for us, when we used to go travel, or, Coach Smith would take us, to a place to eat. A lot of the times it would be Angus Barnes.
Angus Barnes,
like that.
You remember that?
So when you travel with the football party, did you have meals or go places like that? And when we were at the Angus Barn, I think we were probably one of the most entertaining groups of people.
Yes.
We
That's
did it,
because you can sing. That's because you can sing. If you couldn't sing, if Jerry couldn't sing, and I get the little beat and I'll be your little ad-lib Flavor Flav, it makes a difference. But yeah, you can sing. That made it a lot funner.
We passed the mic.
You passed the mic.
I'll let you elaborate on passing the mic. But were the meals, were you able to do those types of things because of the party being so big, or? Yeah,
it's hard to do that just because most places can accommodate.
Right.
I think we would probably travel with at least 90 players sometimes.
Yeah.
I think scholarships were 82 scholarships alone, and then you would probably have maybe 10 or 15 walk-ons that may travel.
Right.
So you could probably have a party of 100, and that's really hard to do. And most times when we left campus, it's straight to the airport, straight to the charter. We're taking off. We're going to play. So it's really hard, to have some of those, as you can say,
intimate meals
and opportunities to learn etiquette and how to conduct yourself at a formal dinner. It did start off formal, but by the time it ended, and we didn't even have libation. We just had each other, which made it fun.
Right.
So it was really hard to travel with a group of 100 student athletes and then be able to go have a nice restaurant. Yeah, we did it a couple of times, which were far in between, but it's definitely not like with basketball. You're playing in the ACC conference, you can go have a nice meal before you get on the plane to head to Maryland or UVA or Clemson or Georgia Tech. Yeah.
Right. And so we did talk about passing the mic. A little ritual that we used to do at our little dinners and things like that. You were very, I think you actually started passing the mic.
Well, if I started, I know you kept it going there.
Actually, to be honest, Tate, we didn't pass the mic. Like I said, that group, that our group was a little bit more, we had a little bit more artistic, approach to them. Had a few more, guys that were had some musical backgrounds and things like that. So, we were able to do some of those things. But that passed the mic. Explain to our listeners what pass the mic was.
I mean, we grew up in hip hop, and
right.
we hip hop is was birthed in the 70s, and we were all born in the 70s, and not only were we super duper people, we had different talents, and my talent wasn't to sing, but I can get up there and give you a good beat. Like even Jerry, he sung the national anthem. And Rashid, he had his own mixtape and his own hip hop group. And
right.
That's just amazing in itself. And then, you bring your very right bellatones up in there and the words that you're singing makes it great. So we had our own band and entertaining band within itself. So it was one of those things where we're sitting around at the dinner table, we just blessed the food and we're kind of waiting, and instead of just sitting there in a monotone type of way, just come up with a beat. And then, once somebody drop a beat and they use their forks and they use their knives, and then
there it is.
You bring that poetic voice in, and we kind of go from there. And then once we got that going, we got something started, and that passed the time. It brought the camaraderie together. I think it entertained the coaching staff, and they enjoyed, and we had enough space to be free to be able to express ourselves in our 20 minutes just waiting for our meal. And, then that matriculated to the airplane, and it went on to the bus. And before you know it, hey, we passing the mic. So we was passing them right way before DJ Cassidy started doing it today.
That's right.
Back then.
No question.
No question about it. It was one of those things that was super duper fabulous for us because it brought us together, and we had a lot of fun doing it. And if you really think about it, we were not together that long. In the grand scheme of things, we were not together that long, If somebody wasn't going to the NBA after 1 or 2 years, they were graduating. So that was something that we was able to do in the time that we had. We took advantage of that, and we made sure we had fun with one another.
No question. And so I'd like to ask you, Tate. Now, we had an absolute great season, that 94-95 season. I mean, it was, we had a chance to win a national championship.
Yep.
We made the Final Four.
Sure did.
But we also played with arguably two of the best players to ever play at the University of North Carolina.
Oh yeah.
And Jerry Stackhouse and Rasheed Wallace. And that's not to take anything away from Donald Williams, because Donald Williams was outstanding for sure.
Yes,
Donald Williams had brought North Carolina a championship, being the MVP of the 1993 national championship. And then we had Dante Calabria as well. Mm-hmm. And then the guy I saw him the other week, because his son plays at North Carolina now. Pierce Landry, the guy. Yes. I said, Pierce was good enough to keep me on the bench, to keep you on the bench. Well, what didn't have an opportunity to play much. Serge Wicker.
Yes.
Then you talk about who else? D. Neal. D. Neal was on that team. Clyde was on that team.
Yes.
Big Rolly on that
team. Big Rolly. You can't get Ed a bounce pass. You can't. What are you thinking about? You think I'm gonna play you if you give Ed a bounce pass? I'm like, coach.
Right.
That's right.
So, being a part of a great basketball team and being part of a great football team, and some of those players, like for you, Octavius, how was it, to every day experience the great players you played with on the football team and the great players that you played with on the basketball team?
You got to compete every day. And I would definitely say this. I probably should have done this before the beginning. Charles Waddell, who was actually the athletic director down at University of South Carolina, if I'm not mistaken, he was another player that went to UNC that played both football and basketball too. And he was definitely one of the forefathers that I looked at in my ideas to do that. But the first guy I looked at was Charlie Ward, being at Florida State. I mean, you're talking about a national championship football team and a pretty good basketball team. And then played in the NBA for about 12 or 13 years. I was inspired by those guys. Being around the players that I was with and the players that you just named, being around Jerry, and I played against Jerry in high school, and being around Rasheed and Donald Williams and Shammond Williams, you learn a lot because you learn the time that they devote to the game. And you, more than any of those guys that I'm just talking about, just named, you put the work in. Watching your work ethic made me work harder after my injury, after I tore my ACL, and because I wanted to get back to being the player that I was. And I was inspired by the way you work, because you just named Dante and Pierce and Donald and those guys. You guys were fighting for the same position. And, I can't say who's better than another, but I felt in my heart that you should have been playing way more than some of those guys. But, you just had to, wait your turn. That type of humbleness. And I remember you being down with me just aggravated because you felt like, hey, I'm ready to play. I know I can do it. I know it. Like, I know you can do it, but hey, you go sit right down here with me until you figure out how to do it. but watching that patience and watching you being frustrated and aggravated because you knew you was just as good as those guys were. And I was like, Roman, you just gonna have to wait your turn, brother. It's not the fact that you can't go do it. You just gotta wait. That builds character in you.
It does.
Playing down there with Dre Blyde, I got to go against Dre every day. Dre was a 3-time All-American, Super Bowl champion, Pro Bowler. that made the game easier for me when I got to go out there and play against any other DB in the country,
Right.
because I'm going against the best DBs here every day.
That's right.
I'm going against Jimmy Hitchcock, and I'm going against Robert Williams, and all these guys played a long time in the NFL. And that type of player every day, and that was the caliber of athlete that we're getting, that made us great. So going against those guys, by the time the game come, oh, it's easy. I'm having to deal with Bracy Walker, and Bracy will crack your head in practice. So, it's like the game is easy. Now, this is the easy part, because we're competing and get some of the best every day. And that was amazing that I can go out there, and me and Rashid in warm-ups, we'll be out there playing around. He's out there shooting 3-pointers. And he was really the first stretch four, but he didn't have a chance to do it in college because that wasn't the system that we played in. He's a stretch forward, 6'10", out there shooting the ball, lights out in warm-ups. And I'm looking at it, like, hey, dude, why ain't you out here shooting this more? That wasn't the game at that time. But now we see stretch forwards running the point guard. And that's the greatness in the players that we had. But the time that we came through, it just didn't require us to do that, because the game had not moved to that point and level where players could be 6'10" and be a point guard,
Yeah. No
and
question.
now we see more of that now. And that greatness, it just made things easy, because you wasn't playing against just your average Joe Smo. You were playing against true Hall of Famers that could have went on. And some of them went on to win NBA championships and NFL championships.
Yeah, no question, man. No question. I thought you did a great job explaining that. And so, the one thing that I like to ask, like, I think this is the toughest question. Okay. I always ask this, the toughest questions. When it's all said and done, like, you're one of very few people that they're gonna see. If they open up the archives, they're gonna see you in the football archives, and they're gonna see you in the basketball archives.
Yes, sir.
And not only they're going to see you in the archives and your statistical things, they're going to see that you were a part of winning tradition in both programs.
Yes.
Like I said before, you were part of a program that was top 5 in the country.
Yes.
You were also part of a program that was in the Final Four.
Yes.
So, when people see Octavus Barnes and they see that name and they begin to talk about Octavus Barnes, what do you want people to know and say about you when it's all said and done?
Oh, man, he was a crazy guy. He had fun. He enjoyed life. He enjoyed people. He's going to press the buttons. He's going to make you mad one day and then turn around and give you a hug the next day. Like, he's going to talk a lot of junk to you just to motivate you and see your greatness. But it's intentional and it's purposeful, because, you like to see the best in people, and you love taking care of people. And he was fun to be around. You never know the mission you're gonna go on. You never know. You only know how you're gonna get there. When it's time to go, you just go, and we'll worry about the other stuff after we get there. Like, we have fun, we laugh, we loved one another. And he was truly a people's person who enjoys interacting and seeing the greatness in people, and that's the fun part about it. And that type of foundation was laid down, and he was able to, bring other people, just like Julius Peppers. Like, me and Julius Peppers were the only 2 guys to ever play in a Super Bowl, to ever go to a Final Four, and to go to a bowl game. And, like, that's something that I didn't even know till somebody brought it to my attention. And just being able to do that was a segue for somebody else to come along and be great. And Julius Peppers was another great guy from down east that was able to do that. And, I would like to say that I helped, to get Julius Peppers to be a Tar Heel.
Right.
Just being able to go out there and do both. And, that's kind of what I want people to say and laugh. If somebody got something bad to say, it's only going to be one or two people in the whole world. So I'll take that.
Right. It's enough
that.
saying good about me.
Yeah.
To overlook that one or two that may say something bad.
Yeah, the one or two that may say something bad, and like you probably deserved it. And if you didn't, I apologize now. I apologize now. But yeah, I would like for him to say that like it was a fun ride, and he was a really cool guy to be around.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, my brother, I'm going to say this, man. You have always been a great brother to me, and
thank you.
It's interesting that you alluded to some of the things that I was going to talk about here in the end. Being there and having those conversations when times were hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a lot of times, people, they don't understand the I'm not even going to call it adversity. I'm just calling it that basketball adversity. Because at that point in time, you don't understand how big life is. And so, but at those times you have those basketball adversity and you need somebody to have those intimate conversations with.
Mm-hmm.
Then, the one thing that I appreciate about you was that you always shot it straight. You told the truth, man. And you never incited a riot. Because you could have easily incited a riot with me. Because like you said before, I had a burning determination, like, hey man, like, look, I need to be playing. And or I wanted to play. Or wanted to show people what I was capable of. And you and like you just said, he was not telling a lie, ladies and gentlemen. He was Room. Hey man, Room. I know. I think you should be playing too, but you're gonna have to wait your turn. You gotta sit right on this bitch with me.
Yeah. Don't get aggravated. It's some stuff you gotta work on. Like you went and worked on those things. Like it's something that we all can work on every day. And I think that's what kids don't do currently. Yeah. Like they're not willing to go through the pain. They're not willing to go through the troubles and the tribulation. This is something I'd rather transfer to another situation. It ain't always that sweet because you can transfer out of a great situation and still be unhappy. I think you just better, realize that you got a good foundation here, and you're gonna learn some great things. I think you guys went to you went to 3 Final Fours, didn't you?
Yes.
Yeah, you went to 3 Final Fours. So Rumi, you better sit here because you're going to enjoy this ride and you're going to have a chance to win a championship. And that's big. Just tough it out, big brother. You're going to be all right.
Yeah.
And, either big brother, little brother, because sometimes you can be my little brother, sometimes you can be my big brother. But you got something truly blessing. And that blessing is your gift that God gave you. Just sit it out. And who gets to go to 3 Final Fours? Come on, man. That's awesome.
But the one thing, like you said before, the one thing that people don't have and kids don't have is they don't have peers that's going to be honest and be direct and tell them what they need to hear. Not what they want to hear, what they need to hear. And that's what I appreciate about you, my brother.
Doubt.
And I love you for that because you told me what I needed to hear. Not what I wanted to hear, what I needed to hear. And so what it began to do was, it made us closer for sure. It made us closer. But what it did too, it brought hell to Jerry now with that blue team. Cause
That's right.
Okay, Coach Smith, you ain't got a players.
But they gonna get it.
But they gonna get it today.
They gonna get it.
Somebody gonna get it today, and like you said before, that allowed us to have some great times and some great camaraderie, and when our opportunities presented itself, we were able to take care of that.
That's right. And that blue team beat the white team. Now we had some help. We had Michael Jordan come back there and practice with her. But we went out there and beat that white team with the blue team now.
No
of course,
question.
we had MJ with us, but shoot, MJ passed me the ball. I'm like, what am I supposed to do with this? I let it fly for about 25 feet and it hit nothing but the bottom of the net. And that matters.
That's right.
You got MJ with you, you know?
Yeah. That was a pretty good practice when he came in there. I told people,
awesome.
I said, now, MJ, you know, it's one thing to see, because I really wasn't an MJ fan. You know, I didn't grow up a North Carolina fan. So, you know, Michael Jordan, you know, it didn't really turn and, you know, it didn't do it for me. You know what I mean?
Right.
As great as a player he was, it just really didn't, you know, it just wasn't at that point in time.
Right.
But when he came to practice and, you know, you out there playing with him, you know what I mean? It was kind of like, okay. Then you started to see his greatness. But I think the thing that for me that let me know that there was a certain type of athlete, a different type of athlete, was when they began to play one-on-one.
Oh my gosh, you remember that?
Yeah, when they played one-on-one. And you could see him how quick he like it was like he was standing there.
Flash. Gone.
I was like, good night.
And when he was leaving, he said something while he was going, and his words stayed where he was before. And before you know it, his basket is over. Like, it's like, okay.
Yeah.
It's a lot we got to work on, guys.
Yeah.
And even Jerry had to go work on it, because that quickness, and you know, you understand why he got the name Black Cat, because he was flash.
Yes.
What? Where he go? Basket. Check.
Nah, yeah. That agility was something like it's only one other person I've seen that had that type of agility. And that was Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant had that type of agility. Wow. And you know, in that body, you know what I mean? In that
6'6" frame,
210.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So when you see Michael Jordan's agility, when you saw his agility, now when I saw that, I said, yeah, that's
special.
Bump all that other stuff, the way the ball go in and all that, but that point A to point B and that shift left, right, and that right there. That's different. That there is different. And so, you know, those were great times. Those were great times. But the last thing, man, I wanted to commend you on, Octavius, was you alluded to it a little earlier. And I happened to be at the game when it happened. When you tore your ACL.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yep, we were at that game, and man, you were putting on the show. And actually, the time you tore your ACL, if I'm not mistaken, you caught the pass anyway.
Yep. And you know, that's just how it goes, man. It's one of those things where, you know, technology has definitely changed right now.
Yeah.
You just never know your potential. And that was one of those things that was a hindrance to me.
Yeah.
But, you know, you bounce back from it.
No question. But what I wanted to commend you on was you continued to push yourself to get healthy. Yeah. And to fight through it. And to, like, I've never heard you have an excuse or felt like, you know, like, unfortunately, like a lot of people, they get down on themselves. Yeah. And you never got down on yourself. You continued to rehab. You continue to get yourself back into position to be a world-class NFL football player. And those, you know, a lot of times we tell these kids, we talk about the accolades of national championship or Hall of Famer and so on and so forth. And all, and those are great. But I think what these kids need to learn and need to hear about more is the fight that it takes when you do, or things don't go your way. You know, when you do have an injury, how do you fight through it? Or if things don't go your way, how do you respond? And I want to commend you on that, because
Thank you.
You know, like, if people wasn't there, if they didn't know, they would have never known that you was injured. Just how you carried yourself, you know, how you stayed uplifted, how you could, kept the work on, kept your mind focused and stuff like that, man. So, kids need to know that and to hear those things, man. And I appreciate the man that you are and
thank you.
the example that you are, because you're needed.
Thank you.
You're needed. I always tell a lot of kids, with this basketball stuff, and they be like, these parents, oh yeah, my kid, yeah, your kid is less like LeBron and more like Shammond. You know what I mean? You know what I mean?
And that's greatness in itself, right there. That's greatness in itself.
Like, ain't nothing wrong with that, but
there's nothing.
It's not going to be the same for everybody. But the most important thing, like I tell, especially when it comes to these young men, what you want to be looking at is how they respond to adversity. And what you did and how you did it shows that you are the ultimate man.
Appreciate you, Chad. Appreciate you.
And I have to commend you on that. And
thank you.
That's big time. That's big time.
Thank you. And that's a learned behavior. And part of that learned behavior is, even watching you, fighting through wanting to play and wanting to be out there. I'm like, I'm no different. I'm no different. I don't get a pass because I am, Octavus. Like, I gotta go out here and put the work in like everybody else. And before we even started to talk about mental health, we were going through that and learning the processes of taking care of our mental health, because we knew at the end of the day, it's gonna be brighter if we keep working at it. And that's part of the adversity that you got to deal with, because, this thing is not guaranteed. It's short and it's not guaranteed. And you got to do your part to make sure you put yourself in the best position that you can be in. So when you tell a parent, stop thinking your kid is LeBron and more like Shammond. Shammond is greatness in itself, but those are Shammond's shoes. And just like those are LeBron's shoes. And you can't be another Kobe. You can only be the best person you could be.
You can be. That's right. That's right. That's right.
And that requires you to put in work every day for you, not your mom, not your dad, but for you. And if you do that for you, you will definitely be successful in any area that you want to be successful in. That's
right. That's right. Well, good brother, I appreciate you, man.
No problem.
I appreciate you for taking the time to be here on the Carolina Conversation. And what I'm hoping, because so many people do need your type of help. Since old Jeff got the job in the Indianapolis Colts, I'm expecting Jeff Saturday to make sure he makes a telephone call to the Octavus Barnes, because he can most definitely be an asset to those young men that he's coaching now, especially if you're talking about winning.
Sir.
But Tate, man, I appreciate you for
taking the time
to be on the Carolina Conversation, man. I love you, brother. You take care of yourself, and I look forward to catching up with you soon.
You got it. All right, champ.
All right, baby.
Peace.